Okay, so I'm close to crying. I literally just finished a semi-definitive list of worst nightmares, and oh my goodness, there's so much I need to say about this book. Hey, what's up, you guys? It's Steph, and yeah, today we're going to be talking about a semi-definitive list of worst nightmares, because oh my goodness, it is like the Monday before it goes up on Wednesday. Yeah, I just finished this. I've been so excited for this book. I had it on pre-order. It got here like a day after it was released, and oh my god, like, I've been so excited for this book. The premise sounded really fun. We'll get into that a bit later. And I've been reading it since it came out on the 5th of this month. And I finally finished it, and there's so much in this book. There's just so much. If you've been following my Twitter, Steph writes okay, shameless plug. There's so much in this book. It covers so much. It talks about so much. Okay, I should get into the video before I really start rambling about it. Here we go. A semi-definitive list of worst nightmares by Crystal Sutherland is a young adult novel released on September 5th, 2017, published by Putnam. This story follows a family who've been cursed by Death himself to be consumed and die by their worst fears. Our main character in the story is Esther Solar. Now, at this point, you may be wondering why I'm dressed like this, why I have an awesome hat and goggles and a cool jacket. Because normally I just dress in a band t-shirt or something. Well, in this book, our main character Esther, she likes to dress up as different characters, whether it be fictional characters like Wednesday Addams, or different people from American history, or different historical people, like I believe Eleanor Roosevelt at one point. She likes to dress up as characters all the time. So I thought, since we're almost at Halloween, and because we're talking about this book, I thought I would dress up as a character to talk about this book, because it's only fitting. Now, to get back to the book, as I said, the family has been cursed by Death himself, and the person who received that curse was none other than Esther's grandfather. Esther's grandfather was the one who originally met with the man who is Death, and the story pretty much takes place from there. Well, it starts long after her grandfather meets the man who is Death, but it's a key part of the story to remember. There's so many things to talk about with this book. I want to take it in strides without giving too much away. As I said before, Esther's family is cursed to be consumed and die by their worst fears. Now, the members of Esther's family include Esther, her brother Eugene, her mother, her father, and her grandfather Reginald, who we'll call Reg. Those are all the family that pretty much exists throughout this book. Reg first met the man who would be Death in Vietnam, and that's when the curse kind of happened. From that point on, Reg's worst fear became drowning. And from that point on, you see the lengths that he goes to stay away from this fear. And, like, you watch it slowly consume him. Slowly, like, they stop going out. They stop experiencing things because of this fear that he pulls his entire family into. In Esther's own household, you have her father who won't come out of the basement. He's afraid to come out of the basement. You have her mother, who is obsessed with gambling and good luck and being lucky. And you have her brother, who's deathly afraid of the dark. And by this point, you might be wondering what Esther's worst fear is. Well, we don't know. Because we don't know, because she doesn't know either, she's devised a semi-definitive list of worst nightmares that could potentially be her worst fear that will eventually consume her. When she thinks something may be a fear, she writes it down on this list, and then never does a thing again. She never engages in it, so she won't be consumed like she watches her family get consumed. That all changes, however, when Jonas Smallwood pickpockets her, and he discovers her list. After discovering her list, the two set out to try and conquer her semi-definitive list of worst nightmares. It's a really long title to say, but it's also really fun to say. Each week, they tackle a new fear. And throughout the book, more and more fears get tackled. But will Esther really find her true fear? And if she does, will it kill her? I don't know, you have to read the book to find out, because it's amazing and totally worth your time. Like, seriously, guys. I cannot express my love for this book. Like, it's incredible. It's one of my favorite books of the year. I'm just setting it out right now. I know it's only September right now, but this is in my top 2 books of the year. Like, it's pretty much tied with Eliza and Her Monsters. That's how good this was. And it was incredible. Like, it was so cool. it's nice to see books coming out that like utilize things surrounding our current culture and things we have today, like with technology, like the texting conversations. You see a few texting conversations back and forth. It's cool to see stuff like that because that's how people generally communicate. You like have the shortened things. It's like bubble conversation, and it's a nice kind of sum up of things that happen rather than just be like, I texted them this, they replied with this. You can actually see the conversation going on. You know what I mean? It's really cool to see that starting to get integrated in more books. Okay, we need to talk about all the references in this book because, my God, Crystal Sutherland is on point with those references. I mean, Transformers, Doctor Who, Star Wars. There was even a Death Note reference in this book. I mean, relevant, Netflix. Relevant. It was so incredible. Like, going through this book, I was laughing my ass off at so many points. It was just, like, I couldn't... At some points, I'm like, this book can't get any better. And then suddenly it did, and I was pretty much crying of laughter. It was absolutely incredible. Even with how funny it was, however, it does get to some really, like, deep points. And some really points where you're really feeling it, like, oh, man. And you're really kind of considering things and really thinking things over. It takes some really heavy topics, but at most points it does find a way to keep him relatively lighthearted, which I find I really enjoyed that about this book. Another thing was, like, I can't spoil the ending because the ending was beautiful, but the research that went into this book, in the back of the book, Crystal Sutherland talks about the research that went into writing the book and talking about different things, because this book, while it does deal with overcoming fears, it does also have another subplot of, like, mental illness and kind of the stigma around it and just the way that we view it, and people... I don't even know how to get it out properly. I need a minute. It tackles mental illness in a way that I found very effective, or I think was very effective. In this book, the stigma behind mental illness... I'm going to get into slight spoiler territory, so if you'd like to not hear this next bit, I will leave a timestamp right here on the video or down in the description, whichever you'd like to check. It'd probably be easier to just check the video right here, to where you can skip to avoid this bit of information, but it's something I want to talk about. You have 5, 4, 3, 2, I hope you're clicking over there, 1. You had a chance. In this book, in this book, the stigma around mental illness was that it was just this curse that can be got rid of, that can be lifted, that can be magically taken away, which is almost like what it is in real life. We think, oh, if you go seek therapy, you'll be fine. If you go to therapy, if you do take meds, it'll magically go away. It's something but it's not. It's something that takes time, something that sometimes people don't even realize people are struggling with. And this book takes that and kind of brings that in. Like, sometimes you can tell people are struggling, but sometimes you just don't know how bad. And even with, like, the recent case of Chester B, from Lincoln Park, with his wife just recently releasing the video just a day before what happens, sometimes you can't really tell. And then sometimes it just comes and you don't know how you can help. And it is more than just saying, here's a suicide hotline, call it if you need help. It's more than that. Sometimes it's hard to, like, ask for help. And sometimes you feel like you don't deserve it and things like that. And there's no shame in seeking help if you need it. If you're struggling with something, it can be hard to try and get help and try to ask people for help and want to move out of it and find the strength to do it, but there's no shame in doing it or asking for it. And I really like how this book handles things. Things aren't just okay in a few pages. Things take a few chapters. It takes spaces of time to overcome things, and I really appreciate that about this book. And I was tearing up towards the end and pretty much kind of cried when I was reading the some of the personal notes from the author. And it was just something that I really appreciated that aspect of this book. I really appreciate all of this book, but that aspect especially, that, oh, it isn't just magically taken care of. Things are slowly done over time. It takes time to overcome things like this. And it's hard. It's not going to be easy. And it is, like, this stigma around mental health is something that should be talked about. It should be out there in the open. It shouldn't be, like, something that's kept bottled up because people are afraid of coming out and asking for help and things like that. I'm not the best person to be talking about this, I know, but it's just something that it needs to end. I mean, we've lost a lot of people. And it needs to be talked about. It needs to be said. Yeah, I really appreciate this book for bringing that up. A Semi-Definitive List of Worst Nightmares is really a fun read, I think, for October, just coming up. Because you're dealing with, like, nightmares and fears and all these other things. Well, there's also, like, a lightheartedness underneath it, and this other, storyline within this main storyline. It is such a good book. I cannot sing my praises enough for this book. Like, as soon as I'm done with this video, I'm gonna go on Goodreads and post my review, and I'm not even sure how I'm gonna be able to get everything out of my head, because there's just so much I want to talk about. I know I haven't even talked about everything I want to talk about in this video, but like I said, I literally just finished it. I need to get everything out before it popped out of my head. But I would definitely recommend reading a Semi-Definitive List of Worst Nightmares. One, because the title is very fun to say, and it's, like, reminiscent of an old Fall Out Boy Panic at the Disco song. So, bonus points right there. And secondly, just because of everything that's covered within it, I think this is a really important book that needs to be read. And I know, like, it just came out, like, 2 weeks ago, so probably not a lot of people have gotten into it. But I seriously recommend this. This is Crystal Sutherland's sophomore novel, her second novel. It really makes me want to read her first one, which is Our Chemical Hearts. And, yeah, I cannot sing my praises enough for this book. I recommend it so much, so much, so much. I hope you guys enjoyed this kind of review, book talk about this awesome book. I'm sorry if it's a bit long. There's a lot I wanted to say, and there's probably a lot I'm going to have to cut because I stuttered so much, especially pronouncing Esther's full name. But, yeah. That's all I've got for you guys today. Check this book out on Amazon, wherever you can buy books. I'm sure it's there. I'll leave a link to where you can find it on Amazon down in the description box below if you want to check this book out, if you want to read more of the description, because I highly recommend it. So, that's all I've got for you guys today. I hope you have a lovely day/night, and I'll see you later. Our main character in the story is Esther Stoyle. The main character in the story... Our main character in the story is Esther Solar. Our main character in the story is Esther Solar. Our main character in the story is Esther Soy. Our main character in the story is Esther